You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. You're listening to us on CBS Radio, WJFK 1580 AM, or you're visiting us at WMCLive.com for this and for any of our previous episodes. Look for WMC Live on Facebook and Twitter, and you can now stream, download, and subscribe to our show's podcast worldwide at iTunes. This week we start by talking with activist Gloria Feldt about the Take the Lead initiative and conference she's spearheading. Then we talk with an expert on aging who has good news for older people and anyone who hopes to live long enough to become old. Last, a writerly, womanly conversation with one of my favorite young feminists, my pal Ariel Levy, discussing two of her recent pieces in The New Yorker. But first we need to look inside the headlines. First, kudos to the Obama administration and the Justice Department, which has announced that it will be instructing all of its employees across the country for the first time to give lawful same-sex marriages sweeping equal protection under the law in every program it administers, even if the couple's marriages are not recognized in the state where the couple lives. Bravo. On abortion, not so good. Linda Greenhouse, in an op-ed on NewYorkTimes.com on February 5th, had as her focus two cases that have been argued recently before the Supreme Court, both of them abortion-related. The first, which is still pending, is McCullen versus Coakley. Coakley is Martha Coakley, the Massachusetts Attorney General, who is defending the 2007 law that established a 35-foot buffer zone that the state maintains around medical offices where abortions were performed. And Eleanor McCullen is a dimpled, sweet-faced 77-year-old grandmother with a large cross that she wears all the time. She's claiming her First Amendment rights are violated because she's kept 35 feet away, so she has to shout instead of chatting quietly with the women when she accuses them of being murderers. Justice Scalia has already made clear that he agrees with her and doesn't think she's a protester at all. What's missing from the story, of course, is any context. This cherubic grandmother is a longtime affiliate of Operation Rescue, which you will remember has regularly massed hundreds of people to blockade abortion clinics. What's also missing is the history of Massachusetts and deadly violence against abortion clinics, including the shooting to death in Brookline 20 years ago of two clinic staff members. That case is still pending, but the court has already given what it wanted to the Little Sisters of the Poor in a related case. The Little Sisters of the Poor are disputing an order of the Obama administration over the Affordable Care Act's contraception mandate. Their name alone, Little Sisters of the Poor, shoot me now. To have that as an adversary is like being opposed by Hummel figures. The Little Sisters are nonprofit religious organizations, so of course they're exempt from the requirement to provide coverage. They would normally have a third-party administrator to pick up the cost, but their third-party administrator is the Christian Brothers Employee Benefit Trust, so none of them want to even sign the one-page certification that on account of religious objections they are organized and operate as a nonprofit entity, and they oppose providing coverage for some or all of any contraceptive services. The indifference to religious liberty, which their lawyer is claiming. Oh, and their lawyer, here's a fun thing. Their lawyer is the same lawyer for Eleanor McCullen, Mark Rienzi. He works for the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, and he told the court that the Little Sisters cannot deputize a third party to sin on their behalf, and that's why they can't sign the form. The justices gave them what they wanted, an injunction barring the government from enforcing the mandate. And so the government is trying to settle for a little simple informal letter in which they certify that they are what they certify they are. It's not clear whether they'll give the government even that. But the real story here is the increasing and sustaining aggressiveness by religious groups that smell accommodation in the executive branch and a welcome support at the Roberts Court. And what we need to take away is the moral and the warning that not all darling grandmothers and little sisters are what they seem to be. My first guest is activist Gloria Feldt, who for 9 years was president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. She currently teaches, she's an author, and her new baby is an initiative called Take the Lead. Welcome to the program, Gloria.
Thank you, Robin. I am thrilled to be here.
Well, you're a recidivist. You're back again. You're one of...
every chance I get. Anytime you invite me, I'm here.
Let's talk about Take the Lead, the conference that is your baby, and I was going to call it a movement, but it's certainly part of the women's movement, the initiative, the campaign, the institution, Take the Lead itself that you founded. How did it get started? You and Amy Litzenberger, how did that come about?
Yes, Amy Litzenberger, who had a wonderful career in the financial industry and then took some time off to have a second child and realized about 13 or 14 years later that things hadn't gotten better for her colleagues in the industry, and she wanted to figure out what was wrong. She learned at that time that I had just literally written the book on it. Take my book, No Excuses, 9 Ways Women Can Change How We Think About Power, was really what led me to start teaching and doing workshops. And, I was doing things one at a time.
Right.
And I was beginning to realize that one at a time is good. But at some point, if you really want to make systemic change, and I believe we need systemic change, not just one person, not just telling women how they should change, but we need some systemic change as well.
You think?
That I was going to have to scale it up and do something bigger and better. So the two of us decided, first we thought, well, we'll try to get some other organization to do it. No dice. So then we just looked at each other one day and said, oh, well, we better just get going. Yeah, about a year and a half later, here we are about to officially launch with the Take the Lead Challenge, and we're very excited about it.
Talk about the conference. I know it's sold out, so people can't buy tickets, but they can stream it. Talk about when it is, what it is, all the exciting people who are going to be speaking at it. Go for it.
Absolutely. Well, to start out with, the mission of Take the Lead is to prepare, develop, inspire, and propel women to take their fair and equal share of leadership positions across all sectors by 2025. And we decided it was time to put that kind of a stake in the ground. That's about 57 or 58 years faster than the current trajectory that women are on to achieve parity in top leadership positions. We've been stuck at 18 to 20% across every single sector of the culture, of the economy, of the society in the U.S. for almost 20 years. So we looked at what needed to be done, and there are 4 things. Number one, women always say they need more information, they need more mentors, and they need more role models. So we're doing all those 3. Take the Lead teaches, Take the Lead connects, and Take the Lead presents. Then there is the thought leadership component, in which we believe it is time to change the narrative from isn't it awful to here are the solutions.
I think that's so wonderful.
The Take the Lead Challenge, which is our launch event on February 19th at Arizona State University's Gamage Auditorium, and as you say, live streamed everywhere, so don't worry. If you can't get a ticket, you can see it wherever you may be in the entire world. If not the moon, I don't know, maybe you can live stream it there too. So that is really when we're starting to tell the world about who we are and what we're doing. And it is also an example of Take the Lead Presents, because we'll be presenting some very inspiring, accomplished women, role models, and information that will help women start to move forward. For example, Sheryl Sandberg is our keynote speaker. We also have Carla Harris, who is the managing director at Morgan Stanley, senior vice president. She is the most amazing speaker. She will rock the house. We have a panel that I think will be extremely interesting and probably surprising to people, that we're co-sponsoring with the Women's Media Center. We're very excited about that.
That I know.
And it's about the impact of media on women's leadership,
which is
how
huge.
the media images we see affect what we think about ourselves and what other people think about us as leaders.
Yeah. This is just fantastic. And then people go away inspired and equipped with the knowledge of how to sort of pick up the cudgels in their own lives.
Well, they will be inspired for sure. And in order to make sure that they don't just leave and it's another one of those events that makes you feel good.
Radical fix. A radical
exactly.
fix, I call it.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. What we will be doing is two things. Number one, we will be releasing at that time a calendar of training programs, both ours and those of some other organizations that share our belief that it's time for women to get to leadership parity. And we'll be presenting that calendar of events so that people can go ahead and get involved. They can get coaching. They can get training. They can get whatever it is that they feel like they need going forward. But also, we will be releasing that evening something very, very special, a career-transforming takeaway, I promise. It's not like another T-shirt or a mug or something like that. It is going to be a really concrete, specific tool that will enable women to apply some of the things they will be learning that evening. I wish I could tell you more, but we are not going to talk about it until that evening.
Well, you're going to make it a very dramatic surprise. It's all the more reason to tune in and stream it. Now, where can people stream it from? The Take the Lead website?
Yes, they can actually go to taketheleadwomen.com, taketheleadwomen.com, and once you get to the website, if you right on the homepage, it will tell you how to get to registration for the live stream. There is no charge; it is absolutely free. But you'll just download a digital ticket, and you'll be able to see the live stream on the Take the Lead website. You can also, many people are doing this. They're also live streaming it in groups. We have women all over the world, literally, from Hong Kong and Singapore to London. They're having a pajama party it's been quite remarkable. And all over the U.S., many of the corporate women's councils are hosting events in their offices. That's been really amazing. And just the energy is palpable. So you'll be together, even though you may not be in the room at the Gamage Auditorium, you will be together with tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of other women who are ready to rock and roll.
And I'm so glad we can alert our listeners because Women's Media Center Live with Moi is now in 67 countries. And so wherever you are on the planet, you can go to taketheleadwomen.com on
February 19th. It is at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. That's Arizona, but that means it's 8 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. It's 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, and whatever time it may be at any other place in the world. People will be able to see the video within a few days at least afterward if they are in a time zone where it's too difficult for them to watch it.
They can catch it.
We just love the idea of as many people as possible watching it that night and feeling like they're all part of this together.
Of course. One more thing. This is about leadership, although it's specifically focused, it seems to me, from what I've read about it and what you've talked about, although it's specifically workplace helpful. This applies to all sorts of other areas as well. If a woman wants to run for city council in her town or the school board or just have more power in her own life and for her own life, this is also useful.
Yes, as I like to say, from the boardroom to the bedroom. The dynamics are exactly the same, no matter what aspect of your life. And in fact, it was studying women in politics that led me to start working on this issue of women's relationship with power and how that is the code cracker to getting women to really embrace their power and move toward leadership parity, because when the doors are open, you have to walk through them yourself.
That's right.
And I wanted to deal with what was it that was holding us back, not just externally, but internally as well. So I started studying it in politics, and it turns out the dynamics are exactly the same, whether you're building a playground for your neighborhood, or negotiating who does the laundry at home.
That's
Doesn't
right.
matter.
I've always thought that women have been afraid of power because of the way that men have used it, and many women want no part of it. But if we understand that we're not after power over, we're talking about power too, that repositions it in a way that's very different. It not only changes us, but it changes power. And
Exactly.
I think that's a lot of that is what you're doing. Congratulations, all possible best luck for the conference. And again, it's taketheleadwomen.com. Thank you, Gloria, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Robin.
We have to take a quick break here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. If you're 50 years old or older, or for that matter, if you're younger than 50 but hope to live long enough to be 50 years old or older, you'll especially want to hear our next guest. She will make you happy, and we'll be back with her in just a moment.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
Welcome back. My next guest is Dr. Laura Carstensen, who is Professor of Psychology and Public Policy at Stanford, where she's the founding director of the Stanford Center on Longevity. And there's a lot to look forward to. Welcome, Dr. Carstensen, Laura. Welcome to Women's Media Center Live.
Good morning. So nice to be with you.
Well, you give me permission to be happy. Your work is the most wonderful work for people who are older and people who hope to live to long enough to become older. That is all of us. Because I want you to talk as much as you can about it. In academia, you're known for the socio-emotional selectivity theory, a lifespan theory of motivation, which all sounds very confusing and grown up. But you're also the author of a long, bright future, an action plan for a lifetime of happiness, health, and financial security. And it's about how we get happier as we age. So talk about that.
Sure, right. First, let me agree with you that that's just a terribly difficult title for a theory, socio-emotional selectivity theory. What it really is a theory about is how our perspective on life changes as we grow older. And we focus especially on adulthood. What my students and colleagues and I have been studying for over 20 years now is the way that motivation changes as a function of how we see the future and the past. Mm-hmm. So as people grow older, we start to see increasing constraints on time. This is just a fundamental fact on life. Mm-hmm. And the humans always set goals in temporal context. We can't really set a goal outside of a temporal context, this context of time. And so goals change systematically as people grow older. And, you know, at first glance, you look at this and think, well, we're getting closer to the end of our lives. It must make people, frightened and, just worried and depressed. And it has the opposite effect as it appears. It seems that what happens is that when there are constraints on time in life, we start to see what matters most.
Right.
And for most people, those are what matters most is other people and relationships. And we start to let these kind of trivial interpersonal concerns and worries go. We let some people in our lives go because they're just not important enough. Right. And we focus on the people and the goals that matter most, and life gets better.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, I find that I don't sweat the small stuff as much as I used to. Yep. Sure, I would like it if my body didn't hurt sometimes in places that I didn't know I had, right. or if when I did a headstand at the gym, my face didn't slide off my skull with gravity. But emotionally, I wouldn't be in my 20s or my 30s even, or my 40s, for anything in the world compared to what I am now. I was miserable. Yeah. You do lose what I call you lose your some days. and the somedayness of denial that there is an end to things is not only uniquely American, but it's also a plague of the human species. And what you're talking about in terms of time, I find helps focus me.
Exactly, and I love the way you put it. I couldn't agree more that, when the 20-somethings are the worst decade emotionally.
Oh, God, awful.
And the reason is folks live in the future at that age. Everything and anything could happen. And the road ahead is nebulous. It's got twists and turns and all sorts of what ifs. And it includes, what if I don't find my soulmate? What if I never get into that school that I want to get into?
Right.
What if I can't pursue my career? And on and on and on. And humans, as it turns out, don't do very well emotionally with what ifs. In contrast, we do really well with the hand we've been dealt. So for most people, whatever circumstances we're living in, we can come to find satisfaction and happiness.
Yeah, this is it also because a social scientist has said this and done the studies for it. It gives permission to the rest of us to be happy, which is what I meant at the beginning. It's an absolutely fascinating click into place reality. It doesn't even strike me as a theory. Has there been much pushback, opposition on this?
Early on, a lot of pushback because the theories about social aging were theories about shutting down emotionally, about pulling back. There was a theory called disengagement theory about engaging in a kind of symbolic preparation for life from life. So you shut down, especially from those relationships closest to you, and you're distancing yourself in preparation for death. And that was the prevailing theory about emotion and aging. And this flips that on its head. And so, there was a lot of objection and skepticism early on. Also, because there was a belief that rates of depression get higher and highest as you get older and oldest. And it turns out that that's completely wrong. We now understand there are the lowest rates of depression in older adults than younger adults. And I always want to add, there are depressed older people, and
sure.
And it is tough, but it is not the normative outcome of aging.
You know that Elizabeth Cady Stanton, the great suffragist, wrote, "I shall not grow conservative with age," and that in fact, some years ago we found that women, in fact, grew more radical with age. Men tended to become more conservative, but women grew more radical. When they were widowed, they kicked out the jams. They suddenly decided, I'm going to travel around the world, or I'm going to write a book, or whatever it was she decided. She had an entire new life that she created for herself, which is also not to say that some women did not, but the majority tilted in the other direction than we'd been led by so-called conventional thinking to believe.
Exactly. And I think it's again part of this motivational change is that we care less about what other people think of us. Now, I think that's true. We see for men and for women, but for women it matters more for the reasons you're saying.
That's right.
For men, caring or not caring what other people think has never mattered as much. But for women, sort of because we're so embedded in social relationships, in a broader social context, in a world that tells us what we can do and can't do, for women, when we come to realize that it doesn't really matter what those people think. It's quite liberating.
Yes, it is. And I, sometime when I was in my early 40s, I remember writing an essay in which I said something to the effect of, I no longer care what other people think. But the truth is that then I would say that and then sneak a peek to see how they took that, thus undoing the content itself. So I came to realize it's not that I don't care what other people think. I do. But it's just not as much as I used to. And what's more important is I care as much or more now what I think.
Do you know, a friend of mine, when she was 90, said to me, I don't care what other people think of me anymore. And she quickly added, now, I don't mean that to sound arrogant.
Yeah.
She said, it's just that I've now shifted where I care more about what I think of them. And that's a lovely shift also, I think,
Yes, it
developmentally.
is. It is. And the great Ursula K. Le Guin, the science fiction and fantasy writer and essayist, once wrote, "Old women are different from everybody else. They say what they think."
Yes.
You know.
Yes, absolutely.
What wonderful work you do. And is
thank
there
you.
is there a website, Laura, where people can keep up with the kind of work that you're doing and the studies?
There are two websites, and one is for the Stanford Center on Longevity, which is a center that I founded and direct at Stanford, and that's an easy website. It's longevity.stanford.edu.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a more cumbersome one, psych.stanford.edu/lifespan. But for that, I would just say Google my name, Carstensen, and Stanford, and you'll come up with both of those sites.
That's great. And it's Carstensen, and it's Laura, and it's Doctor, and it's wonderful. It's just wonderful.
What a pleasure to talk with you, Rob. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work you do.
Well, thank you for the work you do, and thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Time for another quick break here at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, and next up is good friend, New Yorker writer Ariel Levy.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
And we're back. Ariel Levy is a staff writer at the New Yorker magazine and author of the book Female Chauvinist Pigs, Women and the Rise of Raunch Culture. Her work has appeared widely in the Washington Post and Vogue and Slate and the New York Times. So, Ari is here. Ari is back. My friend Ariel Levy.
Good to be here.
And it's very good to have you here. And I want to talk. You are writing like a dream.
Oh, thanks.
You never were.
I love this interview.
Well, you never were a slouch, but your writing lately has been amazing. She's a staff writer for the New Yorker, which means she regularly churns out a major piece now and then. So I want to talk about two pieces. One last November, which we'll get to in a minute, but the one that's on stand now, the February 10th issue, which is a piece, a profile on Diana Nyad.
Yeah, it's called Breaking the Waves.
Best thing I've ever read on her. Tell about that and how that came to be.
Well, Diana's, an amazing woman, an amazing feminist who, as a young woman, got famous for being an amazing distance swimmer and set the world record for swimming around Manhattan Island and set a bunch of records and was a sort of a star. And then the one swim she couldn't make that she really wanted to make was she had this dream to swim from Cuba to Florida, and she tried when she was in her late 20s and she failed. I mean, they pulled her out of the water and she just couldn't make it. And then when she was 30, she retired from swimming. She didn't swim a stroke for 30 years. And at 60, she said, you know what? I want to swim from Cuba to Florida. And she tried 4 more times. Every year, she would launch these expeditions and get in the water and swim all day and all night and get stung by jellyfish and be threatened by, sharks in the water. I mean, she's unbelievable. And she just kept doing it until she finally made it. She made it just a few months back, and it's sort of mind-blowing.
It blew my mind because the sheer stubbornness of it was amazing. And also that most people can't do what they could do at 20.
Right.
They can't even come near it. But she did what she couldn't do.
That's right.
As you say in the piece,
yeah.
At 20. She did at 60. It is such a... Now that I'm older, it's such a blow for liberation of older people. I mean, I was so moved by it. On the woman front, on the older person front, I mean...
Which is my new beat. I mean, the piece I did before that was Edie Windsor, who was 84, and you're rocking it out. This is my new...
That's true, yes.
I'm on a... Well, because, they're just fabulously inspiring, these women who are saying, Edie's thing. Edie was the plaintiff in the Defense of Marriage Act, in the case, Windsor versus United States Supreme Court case that ended the Defense of Marriage Act in this country and essentially made marriage equality a reality. And But I think the other thing about the piece, besides being about like a civil rights hero, was, Edie's 84 and she is just shagadelic. I mean, she talks about sex, thinks about sex, has sex more than most people my age I know.
Yeah, the piece was absolutely.
She is sexed
she was
up.
Flirting like crazy, and
she's a sexy
she wanted
gal.
to be set up with somebody. She's something else. And you bring this out in your subject somehow.
Well, there's that. But no. Edie. It doesn't take me to bring it out.
Okay.
That's Edie.
Right.
That is Edie Windsor.
Okay.
And so
but you got Naiad talking personally in a way she's never done.
Well, I think that until she made it and accomplished this lifelong dream, I don't know that Diana Naiad wanted to reveal herself quite to this extent. I mean, I think that something about accomplishing this lifelong dream made her feel freed in various ways. I mean, I think she's a very deep person and thinks a lot about life in a very cosmic, deep, philosophical way. And she certainly was up for going there and talking about things in those kind of terms. I mean, she is not, she's an intense human being. I mean,
she would have to be.
The will that brings a person, a 64-year-old, to say, I've been stung by box jellyfish, the most poisonous creature in the sea, so that she literally almost died from that. I mean, there's...
Well, the doctor, you wrote, the doctor who got in the water to treat her got stung and came back on the boat and couldn't breathe and
collapsed.
Almost died.
Almost died.
She stayed in the water.
Kept swimming.
And kept swimming. Hello.
She is mind-blowing. I mean, I cannot imagine what it's like to have the kind of will she has.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. It's not just like, she has this will and she's all deep. She's really fun. I mean, she's great company. Great company. And she's a great friend to a lot of people. Like, she's a very, she's a very close, intimate circle.
You get that impression.
And and then she's
her team.
Her team. I mean, they love her, and she's very much in this crew of really good friends and former lovers and just people, this sisterhood of people taking care of each other and having a blast.
What do you have any idea what she's going to do next? Because I can't imagine she's
going to write a book. Going to write a book.
Now she feels she can.
Now she feels she can, and also now they paid her a lot to do it. So she's going to write a book.
They should.
And she's a good writer. I mean, she'll write a good book.
Well, speaking of good writers, talk about the other piece. So here's the backstory, or my version of the backstory. Last time we had dinner, time before that, Ari told me of a story of her life that was quite amazing and involved going to Mongolia and a whole personal tragedy and triumph and a whole lot. And we talked as writers about how you couldn't not write this. But how could you write this? In other words, how would you write this? How would you be able to do it? And last November for the New Yorker, you did. And I was reading it with my heart in my mouth, and you pulled it off. You pulled it off beautifully.
Thank you.
So tell the story of that piece. That is some story.
It's a story called Thanksgiving in Mongolia, and it's about how when I was 38 and I was 5 months pregnant, I went to report a story in Mongolia for the New Yorker. And, I was told by my doctor, as well he should have told me because it's the truth, that it was fine to fly in your second trimester and that there's no correlation between flight and miscarriage or anything like that. And the fact of the matter is the reason they don't want you to fly in your third trimester is only because if you go into labor early, you don't want to be in an airplane. And when that happens, and you don't want to be in some weird place. Right. Well, I went into labor very early, and
in a weird place.
And in a weird place. I had my baby in my hotel room, on the bathroom in my hotel room in Mongolia, and he was alive for about 10 minutes. And I wrote about that experience. And I wrote about how painful it was, and I also wrote about how transcendent it was and what a privilege it was to be somebody's mom for 10 minutes. And, how it was the most interesting and beautiful experience I've ever had. And for God's sake, the most painful. But not just. So I wrote about that for the New Yorker, and it got a big response. People had a big reaction to that, and I think partly people had a big reaction to that because miscarriage is a funny thing. I mean, there's still got as shameful, there's still a taint on it. It's still,
It's her fault somehow.
Especially if you got on a plane and went to Mongolia. I mean, then,
even if that had nothing to do with it. You know.
it still feels. I mean, I just had dinner the other night with a good friend of mine who lost her kid at 5 months. He died, one day she just realized he'd stopped kicking. Yeah. And this is what happens. I mean, people used to expect it. People used to expect that you'd have 8 children and 3 of them would die. And
That's right.
2 would die before they were born and 1 would die when he was 1. I mean, people used to think.
That's right.
This just happens. It's gory, crazy business making life and giving birth. And it used to be accepted that there was all sorts of unknowns and danger with that. And I think now we have an illusion that we've got modern medicine and we've got an amnio and we've got, what do you call it? When they put the thing up you? The
forceps?
No, I didn't get that part. The
thing up you.
They put the thing up you so they can see, and you look on the thing, and it shows you the kid.
Oh, well, that's a
ultrasound.
That's right.
You think that it's all under control.
Well, it's been medicalized.
But really, it's like the ocean. I mean, they don't know what's going on.
There's a reason
there.
it was one of the great mysteries with a capital M.
It's one of the great
life,
mysteries.
Death, childbirth, and the mysteries. Yeah.
It's one of the great mysteries. Yeah. It still is, and shit happens.
But what you did in that piece was to treat this situation with, I thought, really remarkable taste, extraordinary taste. No self-pity, no self-blame. Grief was there, mourning was there. Pain was there, love was there, a lot of irony and just unforgettable moments. Like you took out your cell phone and took a picture of it because you wanted to preserve how. Well,
and I'm glad I did. I mean, I can't tell you how much time I spent in the last year looking at that picture. Of course. And less so now. But once in a blue moon. I mean, but I think that. If I didn't express in the piece, I'm not going to lie, I felt guilty. I mean, I felt really guilty for a long time. And or maybe guilty is the wrong word, but I felt
responsible.
Yeah.
And that comes across in the piece.
Bad.
Yes, that comes across in the piece.
But I was, how are you not going to write about, this is what Robin and I talked about when we had dinner while I was writing it, before I published it, was how are you not going to write about the most intense experience of your life if you're a writer? How are you not going to? And how are you not going to publish that if you're a feminist? And you take seriously that what happens to women, this private, intense, life and death, great mystery stuff. I mean, if you're not writing about that, it's like, what are you going to do?
It has meaning. It has meaning for other women. It's political in its own way, in the deepest sense of political. Mm-hmm. It's something that does not happen to guys. And you had a brief window into the kind of, because it was in Mongolia.
Yeah.
And you then had medical attention in Mongolia. You had a window into what childbirth is like for probably most women on the planet.
Well, except
that they don't even get the medical care that you got.
Is that then I did get medical. And as it turned out, the medical care was sort of incidental, and it more emotionally was great that an ambulance came and that I was kept overnight with an IV in my arm. But ultimately,
many people would feel, oh my God, I just had a miscarriage. I'm bleeding all over the floor, and I'm in Mongolia.
But the thing about that is, people say that, but I wonder if they really would feel that way, because while it's happening, your maternal instinct kicks in, and all you're thinking about is the kid, and what do I do to save this little dude, and what am I going to do? How am I going to fix this for him? You're not. It just. I think most people in that scenario would feel the same way. So you're not thinking about, am I going to bleed to death? You're thinking, is there a way I can get him back up inside? Like, how am I going to fix this?
Yes.
And it takes a minute before you realize,
you can't.
I'm not going to fix this.
You can't.
This is going to end badly.
You can't.
Yeah.
But what you also realized is, and I was so touched, I cried when I read this, that you would be a good mother, and you want to be,
thanks.
and you want to be a mother, and you might try again.
Yeah, I'm on the job. Yeah. I think I will be a good mom.
I think you
and
will too.
You know what? Until that experience, I had a lot of concern that I wouldn't, and that I was just not cut out for the job. And once you sort of cross that Rubicon and you're somebody's mom for like even 10 minutes,
Yes.
there's kind of no going back. Yes. I mean, you're sort of ruined. I mean, you're ruined.
Or the opposite. But because it's very funny,
something.
I thought always that I was very nervous about ever having children because I was worried that I would do what my mother had done.
Right.
I would either repeat that or veer dramatically, pendulum swing in the opposite direction and be very non-loving. So either smother love or non. Oh my God!
Oh, and Seth Robin's the best mom.
You know, and I'm a really terrific.
Oh, you're the best mom.
I'm not the best, but I'm damn good.
I know.
And he turned out really partly in a large part because of who he is. But I had something to do with that, and I'm so pleased.
Oh, you should be. No, you're one of the few people who, like, your kid would say that you're the best one. You know what I mean? Like,
he does say it.
I know he does. I've heard him.
And I don't think he's just, blowing air at me.
No, you're a good mom. You're a good mom.
And you will be too.
Thanks. How old were you when you had that kid?
28.
So for then, that was old.
For 1968, yes, it was.
Yeah.
69, yes, it was. It was
for
old.
now, it wouldn't be, but then it was.
That's right, Oh, God. Well, we're soon going to be out of time. What is happening with that story? They want you to do a book about this?
They want me to, and I will. I'm doing a book for Random House.
I'm so glad.
About loss, about kind of about how good for you loss can be. Now, obviously, if I had the choice, I wouldn't have had a loss, and I'd have, a 1 and a few month-year-old right now. That would certainly be my preference.
Yes.
But that's not going to happen. So, given that, I think that losing everything, because I didn't just lose my kid. Right around that time, I lost my spouse, I lost my house, I lost it all. Basically, the gift of all that is that you realize you don't have control over anything.
Yes.
And that is a very liberating realization, and that is a very exciting realization. I think we spend a lot of time, as well we should, thinking about power and thinking about empowering ourselves and thinking about how to figure everything out. And that's good. That's useful expenditure of energy.
But it's not the whole truth.
It's not the whole truth.
No.
It's not the whole truth. You can't control everything. And I think that in this moment when everyone's sort of reading Lean In and thinking about, okay, how do we have it all? How do we mastermind everything? I'm sort of writing something saying, you know what? You kind of ultimately can't control anything.
This is why I love you. Honest to God. You make me think. And the crux of it then is how you deal with that. Not pretending that it'll never happen.
Right.
But because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And putting a happy face on existence, is not a good preparation.
So
what do you do with it then when it happens? And what you've done with it and what you've done with it in your work is damn good.
Oh,
Harry.
thanks.
It really is wonderful.
Well, I tell you something. I thought about you more than once, and I thought about not just, Robin's most famous quotation, "The personal is political," which is part of why I published that piece, but not really the whole reason, but a little drop of it. But I also thought about something you told me when we first met, when I came here to talk to you about Andrea Dworkin.
Yeah.
And you said to me that, she was very secretive in some ways and very protective of her sort of self-image. And that you always felt that the only way you know how to be was an open book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that comforted me when I thought, is this really okay that I'm going to publish this? Is this really acceptable? And I thought, well, if Robin Morgan says it's okay to be an open book, then I think it's probably okay.
Well, that's very dear of you. But yeah, living out loud.
Yeah, living out loud.
Both as a feminist, because that's how we learn from each other and we set, not standards, but we help model different ways of being for each other. But most of all, as writers, I mean, how can you not, it's all your subject matter. And you don't go through things or set up situations in order to have subject matter. No. But it comes at you willy-nilly, and then to try and transform it, not just into something confessional or burping it out, but into art, into really good writing that moves people and furthers insight into each other and the human condition. That's the challenge. That's what I'm trying to do with Parkinson's now. That's what you did with the miscarriage. And it transforms the experience as well as the writing. I can't wait for this book. This is going to be good.
Let's see.
All right, and thank you for being with me.
My
here
pleasure.
on
Always a
Women's
pleasure.
Media Center Live. Thanks, Ari. Time for one more brief pause here at Women's Media Center Live, where I am still Robin Morgan. We'll be right back with Fighting Words in just a minute.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio.
Welcome back. Just in time for Fighting Words. Well, there's been a Pussy Riot purge. Yes, you heard right. The Russian group Pussy Riot has purged the 2 members who had been jailed and then were recently released so that Putin could look merciful during the Olympics. Those 2 women, Nadia and Misha, have been traveling the world and just this week visited New York, where they met with the New York Times editorial board and appeared on the Colbert Report. Meanwhile, the women back in Russia wrote an open letter published in The Guardian, UK, that, quote, Nadia and Masha are no longer members of the group and will no longer take part in radical actionism. They are now engaged in a new project as institutionalized advocates of prisoners' rights. Such advocacy is hardly compatible with radical political statements and provocative works of art. They write that they regret the loss of 2 friends, but that, quote, unfortunately, we cannot congratulate them in person because they refuse to have any contact with us, but we wish them well, close quote. So who purged whom? Are you still with me? I think what went down here is that the collective, in the way that collectives often tend to do, told Masha and Nadia, do not go on this trip. The capitalist West will make stars of you, and you will be corrupted by the cult of personality. And I think Masha and Nadia retorted, we've been in prison. We're out now. We're invited on a trip abroad. Fancy hotels. We're going. Bugger off. So began Nadia and Masha's excellent adventure, during which grieves the Pussy Riot Collective's letter. The 2 clearly have been acting in their own names and are no longer engaging in radical art activities, yet, horrors, the headlines still cite the group's name. This furthermore ignores, here it comes, quote, the fact that at the pulpit of Christ the Savior Cathedral, the original demonstration, there were not 2 but 5 women in balaclavas, and that the performance in Red Square had 8 participants, close quote. Subtext, and why weren't the rest of us arrested and made international martyrs anyway? But their statement says that the worst was Amnesty International's announcement of the 2 women's appearance in the first legal performance of Pussy Riot at a benefit for AI. You know, honoring 2 women as an excuse to fundraise. The collective, having no grasp of the old news sexism at AI, was shocked that the poster of the event showed a man in a balaclava with an electric guitar under the name Pussy Riot, while the organizers, quote, called for people to buy expensive tickets. Well, the statement wails in a heartfelt cry, this is an extreme contradiction of the very principles of the Pussy Riot Collective. Quote, we are an all-female separatist collective. No man can represent us, either on a poster or in reality. I say, on this matter, you rock, Pussy Riot Collective. Plus, they go on, we are anti-capitalist. We charge no fees for people to view our artwork. All our videos are distributed freely on the web. We never sell tickets to our performances. Our performances are always illegal, and we are anonymous because we act against any personality cult, and we cover our heads, we cover our faces because we oppose the very idea of using female faces as a trademark for promoting any sort of goods or services. Phew. So here comes the pronouncement, quote, the mixing of our rebel feminist punk image with the image of institutionalized defenders of prisoners' rights is harmful to us as a collective. And here's where the anarchy and punk screeches to a traditional halt. Quote, we as an art collective have an ethical right to preserve our art practice, our name, and our visual identity distinct from other organizations. Close quote. Well, I agree, they do have that right. But coming from them, it's like saying, down with property. Property is theft. But hey, that's mine, and theft is also theft. In closing, a few personal words about Pussy Riot. I admit that I've been turned off them for quite some time, starting with the name. I believe that reclaiming negative names that have been lobbed at women is great if the names have power. Witch, bitch, hag, banshee, harridan, shrike, harpy, any of those I can see reclaiming. But the names that evoke a lack of power are not reclaimable. Names that infantilize us with cuteness or turn us into pets, livestock, or vegetables, or reduce us to being solely sexualized like Pussy Riot or Slut Walks, I think these are not reclaimable. I also think that Pussy Riot was not very politically sophisticated, since if they wanted to be effective, they might have considered that the name and some of their actions would offend most of the women in their country. Then again, hey, they didn't care about being effective. They wanted to be outrageous. They self-define as punk artist revolutionaries. Never mind that punk originated very much with boys, not girls. Look, I like that the collective, plus the now renegade too, once took on both state and church, that they implored Holy Mary to please bring down Putin. That was brave. And Nadia and Masha deserve respect, too. They were in a Russian jail for 2 years. But really, I find all of this purging hilarious. It reminds me of the Monty Python movie The Life of Brian, a spoof of the crucifixion, in which the Judean People's Front detests the Romans more than anything in the world except the People's Front of Judea, which detests the Judean People's Front right back. Basically, Pussy Riot always tried to exist in an unwieldy contradiction, as a radical feminist revolutionary separatist collective on the one hand, and as a punk art group on the other. By the time they decide which each of them they are, Western liberals will have moved on to the next charismatic flavor of the month hero or heroine, the West's version of praising martyrs, while fundraising, of course. Ah, well. And I didn't even get into Amnesty International's announcing its opposition to the Nordic model of arresting buyers of prostitution. Instead, defending Johns via a strategy devised by, honest to God, a man who openly admits to being a pimp. Too much information? Well, next week, perhaps. For that, I need to sharpen my grown-up, big cat claws. And that is it for this week. You've been listening to us on CBS Radio, WJFK 1580 AM, or you've been visiting us at WMCLive.com for this episode and for the whole rich archive of all our previous shows. Look for us on Facebook and Twitter for alerts about exclusive breaking news segments and upcoming guests, and check us out at iTunes, where you can stream, download, and subscribe to our show's podcast worldwide. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. WMC President and Executive Producer of this program, Julie Burton, Senior Producer, Crystal Williams-Chancellor, and our founding sponsor, Regina K. Scully. I'm Robin Morgan. Thanks for being with us. Join us next week when we'll explore how solitary confinement for women prisoners differs from that for men. We'll also talk with Jennifer Baumgartner, the new executive director of the Feminist Press, and we'll have a catch-up session of news and laughter with the Kathy Najimy. Only here on Women's Media Center Live.
For the smartest talk about news, politics, sex, books, religion, race, and more, tune your radio to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Audacious, witty, provocative, informative, and fun. It's Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 CBS Radio and WMCLive.com. Talk radio with a brain.